Okay, so what exactly is succession planning? Well, its title is a bit of a giveaway, and yes, the simplest definition is quite literally having a plan in place that identifies who might move into a given role should it become vacant. Put like that, it does sound quite straightforward, and businesses have been doing just that quite naturally for years. It's a familiar story. Tom from operations is a good bloke, he knows what he's doing, and now that Sam's leaving, we can simply drop Tom into the head of department role. Easy, right? Maybe, but is that an objective decision? Would it stand up to scrutiny? And more importantly, how confident would we be that Tom will continue to be successful? And do we even know that Tom wants to step up? Succession planning is the process of identifying and developing potential future leaders, senior managers, and subject experts to fill business critical roles. It's also a great tool in retaining talent. Good people stick around when they know what the future might look like. From a people perspective, succession planning looks at two elements. Performance. How successful and competent a person is in their current role. And potential. The desire a person has and the possibility that they could step up into a bigger role. People often ask who or which roles would be included in succession planning. Businesses can take different approaches. Some choose to concentrate on those critical roles. Others take a wider view and look at jobs clustered by role, function, level, or generic skills. Whichever approach is taken, there are some practical tools that can help to keep the process objective and that will help to identify the greatest risks to continuity. Our process covers performance and potential and then combines that with a view of critical roles that are occupied by critical people. Together, this information sets out where we need to focus our efforts. Additionally, our process can also help to highlight where things perhaps aren't quite working as they should be and provide some direction on managing or improving performance. Right, let's show you the tools. Performance versus potential. We use a simple scale from 0 to 10 and plot those scores along two axes. Let's start with performance. The score here should reflect the person's performance in their current role. 0 is low and 10 is high. To assess this, you should use as much objective evidence and information as possible. Of course, your view as a manager is important, but it's equally important that you are able to articulate the reasons why you have given a score. Consider, how well does the person's performance line up with the job description? Are they able to, and do they consistently demonstrate and deliver all of the activities that the role requires? How closely does the person match the person's specification? Do they demonstrate the required behaviours, strengths, skills, and experience? What about training, qualifications, and learning? Is there a gap, or would you describe the person as being fully competent, a professional at the top of their game? Then there's the application of all of that knowledge and skill in delivering against targets and objectives. How does the person's performance stack up against those goals? If you're confident that someone's smashing it out of the park consistently, then you might put them at or close to a 10. Likewise, if there are lots of gaps or problems, then it might be closer to 0. Scores in the middle range are those that are reliable, regular, trusted performers. They do the job as required and keep the wheels turning. They may occasionally have exceptional achievements, but mostly they are solid, core colleagues whose performance rarely dips. Next, let's look at potential. The score here should reflect both the person's desire to step up and a view of whether they have demonstrated the skills that indicate they are capable now or would be capable in the future. It may be more difficult to compile evidence here, but again you should try to be objective and consider everything you can. Has the person actually expressed a desire to progress? Have they told you that they want a promotion or to build their experience? Have they applied, perhaps unsuccessfully, for promotions? How willing is the person to take on additional responsibility? What's their approach, enthusiasm, and level of effort? How successful has the person been in delivering on those new tasks? And how does the person react and respond to direction, coaching, mentoring, instruction, and feedback? Just like the performance axis, set a score from 0 to 10. Your lower scores are people that have perhaps been very clear about not wanting to progress. Extremely low scores are a combination of having no desire and not demonstrating any of the qualities you might expect from a future leader. Higher scores are those that have perhaps been vocal in expressing that they want to step up. They will perhaps volunteer to gain exposure, to learn and to raise their profile. There may be a quiet confidence and professionalism that makes them stand out from other colleagues. Scores in the middle range are usually our core, solid colleagues. They may have capability but little desire. They may be short-term or temporary successors but more comfortable stepping back once a permanent person is in post. These colleagues are super important to our business, and as a word of caution, don't make assumptions about their desire to progress. If someone has the capability, it's important to ask the question. Not everyone shouts about wanting a promotion. So what's the outcome? Combining performance and potential scores will plot the person on our succession grid. The placement should give an indication of how you might support the person's development and progression, how you can capitalize on their skills and expertise, or how you might want to address a performance issue. Top right, high potential, high performance. Consistently achieves or exceeds goals, targets and objectives. Takes the lead through own initiative. Is a role model with subject expertise. Colleagues with high will and high skill. Clear desire to progress. Demonstrates qualities and characteristics for the next step. Maintains high performance and or exceeds expectations. Has capability and capacity for more. Mentor, coach and develop. Exposed to new tasks and business areas. Engage and motivate. Set out timescales and trajectory. Recognize and reward. Stretch targets and goals. And consider secondments. Bottom right, low potential, high performance. Achieves targets and objectives. Is proactive in sharing knowledge. Is recognized as a reliable subject expert. Colleagues with high skill and low will. Contributes best in current role. At or near working capacity. Little desire to progress. Already at or near expert level. Maintain motivation. Agree targets. Tap into skills and experience. Use as a coach or subject expert. Recognize expertise and achievement. Engage and check. Top left. High potential, low performance. Meets some objectives but must improve. Performance can be mixed. perhaps impacted by factors beyond own control. Colleagues with high will but low skill demonstrate a desire to improve and progress, demonstrate the potential to learn and improve, sometimes newer or less experienced. Observe, coach, train, direct, set clear, stepped, incremental goals, communicate. Bottom left, low potential, low performance. Frequently misses goals, targets and objectives. Performance is below expectations. Colleagues with low will and low skill. No desire to progress. No indication of a desire to improve, learn or change. Review suitability. Affirm expectations. Performance manage. And consider alternatives. Remember, the grid is just a tool to help you articulate objectively what you may already have in mind. The information you use to make an assessment, the conversations you have with people, and what you do with the outcome are more important than completing the grid. So, that's the first part, and completing the activity will give you a view of the succession landscape for your team. Next, it's good practice to identify priorities and risks. We can do this using a similar grid, but this time assessing how critical a role is and how critical the person is in that role. What do we mean by critical roles and critical people? Well, we don't mean people whose job it is to write reviews of restaurants, and we don't mean that friend or relative who tells us that our jumper is too tight or that we're driving too close to the car in front. We mean critical to business continuity. Critical roles are those that are vital to the successful delivery of our goals and to achieving and maintaining compliance. Critical people are those that bring unique skills or that may be difficult to replace from within our current workforce or from the external market. There are 3 factors to consider under each heading. These will help you to decide on a rating from 0 to 10, just like the succession grid. Under critical role, consider the role's impact on business operations. How would day-to-day operations be affected if this role was suddenly vacant? What tasks and activities would cease or be significantly interrupted? Would mandatory or governance requirements be impacted? What about the role's impact on financials and results? What level of financial authority does the role hold? What's its reach in terms of stakeholders? What results or objectives would be at risk if the role became vacant? And then, the uniqueness of the role's skill set. How specialised is this role? Is it unique to our business? How is the success of the role influenced by tenure and experience? How much specialist training or organisational learning does this role require? Next, consider the person and the urgency of succession. How soon could this role become vacant? What indications are present that suggest the role holder might leave? What is the likelihood of being able to retain the current role holder? And does the person have unique or specialist knowledge? When it comes to internal bench strength, does the role have natural successors? Are they trained and qualified? Could they step up today? If not, when could they? And what interim arrangements are in place? Do they have the same level of organisational knowledge? Then, what about external candidates? What's the current market like? How long might it take to find a candidate? What might be the cost of finding a replacement? What training and support will be required to return to the same or higher service level? Once again, the scores will plot a position on the grid to illustrate your overall critical assessment. Using both the success positions and the critical positions for your team, we can get a view of the risk profile, and then with the results from other teams, we can build a picture of the entire organization's talent landscape. The risk profile is quite simple to decipher. Let's take a look at an example. Sula is the head of operational excellence. She's been with the company for 12 years, 7 of those in her current role, and during that time, she's built up some solid policies, processes, and created great positive relationships with suppliers and stakeholders. Sula is a solid performer. She rarely, if ever, misses a deadline. Her budgets are always on target and her employee engagement scores are positive. Sula's quite clear that she's happy in her role, and because it's quite specialist, there isn't a natural director role for her to step into. Sula often talks about her ambition to retire in a few years and how proud she'll be to reach 20 years with the business. The operational excellence team is quite new and has expanded rapidly to match our business. The longest serving member after Sula is Col, the team manager, with 2 years under his belt. Col's got a lot of potential and will shortly finish his operational excellence degree. They're a good team, but they rely a great deal on Sula's knowledge of the business and her professional expertise. Right, let's look at how we might score Sula. We'll start with performance. She sounds solid and reliable, a true business expert. But she's not perfect. Let's say 8. Potential. It seems pretty clear that Sula really doesn't want to step up. She'll definitely have some transferable skills and knowledge though, so in a critical situation, she could be a temporary option. Let's say 4. Critical role. Absolutely. The new Operational Work Act states that all businesses must have an appointed Ops and Work Officer, and there are many projects and activities that the role touches. Let's give this a 9. What about critical person? Sula hasn't indicated a desire to move on anytime soon. Despite the expertise that Sula has, we do have a potential natural successor in Col, and even if we had to recruit elsewhere, the market is quite buoyant, so we could probably fill the role in less than 6 months. Let's give this a 2. So, what does all of this tell us? Well, on the face of it, it might be natural to say Sula is a high risk because of her long service, her expertise, and her solid performance. But let's break it down. There's no desire to leave the business, so Sula isn't a flight risk. Her skills are quite narrow, so she's unlikely to be an internal move and not a first choice, even for a temporary step up. Sula is good at her job and she's reliable, but it's clear that she isn't breaking new ground or really driving progression. That's not a problem, and in this role it's been what's needed. We do have a natural successor for Sula with Col, which means we'd be able to maintain a good level of continuity if Sula were suddenly not available. All in all, even though this is a vital role for the business, we can see that the risk profile is quite low. It means that our focus should be on maintaining Sula's motivation, tapping into her expertise. But the process has actually highlighted that we might need to do some work with Col as the successor, and then the rest of the team, to build more depth and resilience. So, there we have it. Our process is really just 2 steps, and from there you can build an objective picture of your team's resilience, where to focus your effort, and also pick up any performance issues that previously you might not have been able to fully describe. Our custom talent planning tool is very easy to use, and in addition to giving you a visual representation of your team's talent and succession landscape, It will also calculate the relative risk profile for your team. Your HR business partner will support you in completing the activity and act as a sounding board to help you stay objective. From there, it's about building individual plans for your people. Those plans can include obvious things like training, but also practical actions like mentoring from business experts, gaining exposure to new tasks and projects, or even secondments and experiencing other teams and functions. Again, your HR business partner, along with learning and talent, will help you to find the right path for your people.